Howdy, y'all. It's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this July 17th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. Card in the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist. And please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Really do appreciate it. So, yesterday we kind of got caught up with what happened to John the Baptist and King Herod, and unfortunately, it was not a good end for John. Herod had him beheaded at the request of his then wife Herodias. So now John the Baptist is dead. Okay, so that was just kind of an aside story to it's part of the story. It's there, and it didn't really have effect on the big picture, but it's just kind of an aside. So now we're gonna go back and pick it up with Jesus, and we're gonna see two of probably the most well-known stories about Jesus and his earthly ministry. We're gonna see him feed the 5,000 and then walk on water. Okay, I think those are both stories that most people, even if they're not believers, should be familiar with. Okay, so let's go to Matthew chapter 14 and pick it up in verse 13. When Jesus heard what happened to John, he left in a boat. He went alone to a place where no one lived. But the people heard that Jesus had left, so they left their towns and followed him. They went by land to the same place he went. When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd of people. He felt sorry for them, and he healed the ones who were sick. Late that afternoon, the followers came to Jesus and said, "No one lives in this place, and it is already late. Send the people away so they can go to the towns and buy food for themselves." Jesus said, "People don't need to go away. You give them some food to eat." The followers answered, "But we only have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." Jesus said, "Bring the bread and the fish to me." Then he told the people to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. He looked into the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the bread into pieces, which he gave to the followers, and they gave the food to the people. Everyone ate till they were full. When they finished eating, followers filled 12 baskets with the pieces of food that were not eaten. There were about 5,000 men there who ate. There were also women and children who ate. Verse 22. Then Jesus made the followers get into the boat. He told them to go to the other side of the lake. He said he would come later. He stayed there to tell everyone they could go home. After Jesus said goodbye to the people, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. It was late, and he was there alone. By this time, the boat was already a long way from shore. Since the wind was blowing against it, the boat was having trouble because of the waves. Between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, Jesus' followers were still in the boat. Jesus came to them. He was walking on the water. When they saw him walking on the water, it scared them. "It's a ghost!" they said, screaming in fear. But Jesus quickly spoke to them. He said, "Don't worry. It's me. Don't be afraid." Peter said, "Lord, if that is really you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus said, "Come, Peter." Then Peter left the boat and walked on the water to Jesus. But while Peter was walking on the water, he saw the wind and the waves. He was afraid and began sinking into the water. He shouted, "Lord, save me!" Then Jesus caught Peter with his hand. He said, "Your faith is small. Why did you doubt?" After Peter and Jesus were in the boat, the wind stopped. Then the followers in the boat worshipped Jesus and said, "You really are the Son of God." Verse 34. After they crossed the lake, they came to the shore at Gennesaret. Some men there saw Jesus and knew who he was. So they sent word to the other people throughout that area that Jesus had come. The people brought all their sick people to him. They begged Jesus to let them only touch the edge of his coat to be healed. And all the sick people who touched his coat were healed. All right, so there's more examples of Jesus' miraculous power, his godlike power not God like, his God power. So he feeds the 5,000, and he does so obviously through his miraculous power. They only have what appears to be 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish for 5,000 men plus all of the women and children that were there. So it was actually more than 5,000. We don't know exactly how many. Doesn't really matter. 5,000 is enough. That's a lot of people. Okay. And they had literally 5 loaves of bread, probably about that big, and then 2 fish. Could be any size, right? But clearly not enough to feed, essentially an entire army, right? So what does Jesus do? He makes it work. He provides food for everyone. Okay? So what they have was made plenty. And then afterwards, there was enough left over for leftovers. Okay? So this goes to show you that Jesus provides, even when it looks like we have nothing, or even just a little bit, even when we just have a little, Jesus can do so much with that little. He can do so much with just nothing and make it into something, right? That's kind of the point here. And then, of course, we see the story of Jesus walking on the water, and Peter goes out into the water. And, at first they were afraid. They were like, "Who the heck is that? That's a ghost. Oh my gosh, you stay away from me, demon." And he's like, "No, no, no. It's me. Me. Be cool. I'm just casually walking on the water as you do." Right? Not really, but. And so Peter steps out. He takes that step of faith. And at first, as he believes, he is able to walk on the water just a little bit. Then the worry and the doubt sets in. The wind, the waves. It was probably cold. Feel the water on his feet. And he's like, "Oh, oh, oh." And then he starts to sink. Okay. And that's a perfect picture of what happens to us, especially those of us who are just beginning our Christian walk, our walk with Jesus, where our faith at first is, probably seems strong. We seem really grounded. Yeah, yeah, I like this. This is really good. And things are good for a while, but then the hardships come and then our faith wanes, right? But the good news is that even when we mess up, even when we falter, Jesus is there to pick us up. Okay? He knows our faith is weak. He knows that we are weak, right? So he's always there to pick us up when we fall, no matter what. Right? Now, the point I wanted to make here is just to remember that Jesus is both God and man simultaneously, right? Okay? He's the God man, okay? And there's a couple points here where we see that even though Jesus is always, amongst this multitude of people, he's always teaching, he's always healing, he's always talking and interacting with people, there are still moments when he needs to be alone. Okay? And we can all feel that. We can all, understand that. First, we see that when he hears what happens to John the Baptist, his cousin, okay, his relative, was just brutally killed for no reason other than doing what was right. And you can imagine that probably made him feel really, really sad. And he probably needed to be alone for a while to mourn that. He knows that John is going to have his reward in heaven. He's going to be there in the kingdom of heaven. He knows that. But still, he's still man. And he feels that pain of loss, right? And then he also made the point to take time to be alone, pray. Okay? That's something that we often take for granted, but we shouldn't. And it's something we should always try to prioritize. Now, I know I'm guilty of not doing that as much as I should, but we really need to take the time to be alone with just the Father. Okay? Lock yourself in a room, go in a closet, go outside, wherever you can be alone, and just take time to pray and talk to God. Tell him how you're feeling. Tell him what's going on. Tell him, what thoughts are in your head. What's going on in your life, and ask for whatever it is you need. Whether you need guidance, whether you need courage, whether you need strength, wisdom, whatever you may need, ask. but you really need to take that time to just be alone with Him. Okay. It's one thing to be out and about and, talking to people and still have that, that focus in your mind of, of Jesus and God. But it really sets in when you take time to be alone with your thoughts and with Him. Okay. So I encourage you to take just a few minutes of your day, whether it's in the morning or at night or somewhere in the middle, doesn't matter, but take a few moments every day to sit down by yourself in a quiet place, pray, talk it out with God, maybe meditate on your Bible a little bit. But I would encourage you to do that. I know I need to do that more than I have been doing. So that's something that's convicting that, I need to be convicted of too. Okay. None of us are perfect, right? Anyway, that's all for today. We're going to pick it up there tomorrow. Thank you again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.